Hi, my name is Jocelyn, and I will tell you a little about the remake and some of its examples to understand the concept a little better. The remake refers to a new adaptation of an artist's work. Some example to movies and television series, where the story is faithful, repaired, keeping the same characters. Remake usually narrate the same thing as it was previously narrated, but changing the actors and some things else changing the context of the story to adapt it to a new idea, a more current environment direct towards newer generations. Let Me In is a 2010 American British romantic horror film written and directed by Matt Reeves. It is a remake of the 28th Swedish film Let the Rhythm In, directed by Thomas Alferson. The film tells the story of a bullied 20 years old boy who friends and develops a romantic relationship with a female child vampire. Reeves made several changes for the English version, such as removing the lead characters. The film's producers thought that their intent was to keep the plot similar to the original, but make it more accessible to a wider audience. The remake of 27 2019 consists of two films and in the second adaptation of the novel by Stephen King. The novel was previously adapted into a 1990 miniseries. The story begins when in the town of Derry, children begin to disappear and a gang of seven friends discover that Pennywise is an evil clown whose history of murder and violence goes back centuries, dealing with his worst fears. Some difference of the deliveries will be that for the original production, it was a miniseries for television created by Warner Bros., while the remake was adapted for the cinema. The temporality in which the story is developed also changed since the first takes place in the 16th and 19th when the children are already adults, and the second in the 18th and the 2090. Another difference will be that the second installment is much more explicit with violence, unlike the first. There are many changes in when the events that are happening in the film. Everything is adapted to a more current public and with a darker environment. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a film released in 25, directed by Tim Burton, and the second adaptation of the novel by Roald Dahl in 1964. It is the story of Charlie Bucket, a boy who lives with his parents and grandparents in a house in ruins. As they lack resources, Charlie and his grandfather Joe dream of visiting the chocolate factory of the famous Willy Wonka, a mysterious chocolater who has not been seen in public for years. One good day, a miracle happens. Willy Wonka decides to choose five lucky children to visit the factory with such good luck that Charlie turns out to be one of them. Once inside, they will meet the eccentric owner of the factory in an unforgettable adventure. There are several differences when it comes to special effects, but in general, the story is the same. If the two versions of Willy Wonka are compared, the first played by Gene Wheeler takes the prize for fence and black humor, while Johnny Depp has a more creepy personality. The setting of the 25 version is very distinguishable for the style of the Tim Burton, while the 1964 one is more generic and according to the time. Hachi, a Dog Style is a 29 American drama film based on the true story of the Japanese dog Hachiko. It is also the remake of the 1987 Japanese film Hachiko Monogatari. The first was made in Japan and tells the whole life of Hachiko since he was a puppy and how Professor Hidesubaru Ueno meet his owner. Show us how this curious dog takes a lot of affection for his owner, accompanying him every day to the station and waiting for you to return. This is how the story goes until one day the professor suffered a brain hemorrhage and died, but Hachiko, saying that his beloved owner does not arrive, tired to wait for him at the station for 9 years, the rival of the professor, until his death. On the other hand, the American version is adapted to the present day and based on the real event of Hachiko's life, with his Hollywood touch, making the film not as dramatic as the first, because they put a more tender touch and some things comical, but without forgetting the sentimental side. I will finish with Pet Cemetery. It is a 2019 American supernatural horror film directed by Kevin Kolsch and Denise Whitemeyer. It is based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King, and in turns is the remake of its 1989 version. The story begins with a family that moves to a remote town on the and discover a mysterious cemetery hidden in the most impenetrable of the forest, very close to their new house. One day, the father of the family, Louis, finds the dead cat and the neighbor tells him a way to bring it back. A secret that ends up changing to the life of that family in a terrifying way. The remake has some notable changes in terms of a plot, such as the death of the son, which this time is exchanged for the daughter and the end of the plot, since they want to give it originality but failing in the opinion of the public. In general, they are quite similar, but the remake, despite having better effects, fails to cause the suspense that the original caused. Thank you very much for your attention.